Hello and welcome back to the Fan Pub. My name's Sean Connors. I'm joined with Al, but it's going to be my video and Al's going to just ask me some questions. This video is all about my top 10 rookies to target for this year and why. I'm going to try and do it quite quickly because I don't want this to drag on too far because I want you to be able to get the most out of it. I'm sure Al will timestamp it, but he'll have questions and what we'll do is try and be your voice of why we've chosen these players. We've put an 11th player on the list because Al wants me to highlight why I'm not going to add this player in on this top 10 list. So I think that's fair, but there'll probably be other questions Al has, and he's going to play kind of devil's advocate. So I'm going to start off.
So this is your top 10 rookies in your order, not
anybody,
not consensus.
Not consensus. So use
this
consensus.
Is your consensus.
My consensus. So use your. You could use this if you like to your advantage if you know you can get away with it. However, I did early in the season use it to my advantage, and it's paid off. I think we'll see how much as the season unfolds. But I definitely got, if you like, I got the first hand over the big drafters because I was ahead of the curve. If it pans out that way, I'm going to be miles ahead. If it doesn't, I lose out. We'll see. So we'll start off with the first guy, and that's N'Keal Harry. I've been overall N'Keal Harry for absolutely months. He's my number one on any rookie list without doubt. I actually he will be in the bold prediction list. All I'm going to say is I believe he's the next Darrell Owens. I don't think I have to speak more highly than this. He's in the perfect spot. He got the right landing spot. Everything fell for him. There's issues in training camp. Let me tell you something. New England are the best at getting the best out of the players. Do not buy into the fact that the guy's getting a rocket up the backside. You bet he is. He's playing for Bill Belichick. He's going to learn pretty quickly. You toe the line, you get on the pitch. You don't do what we ask, you ain't getting the reps. Now, it's not that they're not giving him reps. He's getting those first team reps. The thing is with this guy, he's going to be taught the New England way. I believe he's got the attitude, the ethos to want to do it, and he's arguably playing with one of the great quarterbacks of our time. So the two things will align very nicely. Once we go through rookie camp, watch this guy's value skyrocket even more, and we'll see as the season unfolds whether I'm right. To become Darrell Owens that quickly means this guy's going to put down some tape this year. How much? Talk about that in the bold predictions and see how high he is on that list. But we'll save that for another time. But that's why he's my number one. I don't think that really goes too far off the consensus list. I think it's arguable whoever they have at number one. Where does he stand at the moment, N'Keal Harry, in today's list?
He's number 2 overall.
Number 2. So, I mean, and that's probably what most people would have him as.
As low as 7.
Yeah, that surprises me. But I think as drafts have gone along, that's proved to be fairly accurate. I've been really talking about this guy for a very, very long period of time. For those that have listened, I've drafted him pretty much everywhere where I can. That's not that difficult to do if you've got a high pick. So that's why
you've given away a few nice pieces to get those picks, haven't you? So
yeah,
you really are all in on N'Keal.
Yeah, I believe in him. I absolutely
that's
strongly
how much you believe in him.
I believe in him, and if you believe in somebody, you have to back it sometimes. And sometimes to get a team to become really good, you have to find the best pieces, and that is risky. But you know when you're building a team, that's the chances you take. That's what you have to do. And if you happen to have that pick and you've taken him, don't worry. Marinate this guy for 2 seasons and just watch what happens. I'm absolutely convinced he's going to be special. So we'll see. He was easy to talk about. Now we're going to talk about a player that I think is going to challenge for the top rookie running back of this season. That's David Montgomery, who's gone to the Bears. He's the 3 down back. He's the perfect fit. He's the ideal for their offense. Everybody's going to be talking about Tarek Cohen. Let me tell you something. Montgomery is going to prove to be extremely good for this season. His current ADP puts him about 4th round value. That's probably fair. But I really like him for this year, and I am very high on David Montgomery to achieve what he needs to do for me this fantasy season. So where I can, I've drafted him. I'm very lucky in a couple of leagues. He's fallen to me at 4 or slightly lower, and I'm happy to grab him every single time. There's not really much I'm going to tell you other than he fits everything I'm looking for. He's tough. He's elusive. He's between the tackles. He doesn't have what you might call home run threat capability. The one thing that's missing is the top gear. But you know what? This is the Bears offense, and frankly, I don't think it's necessary. I think all you need to do is churn out the numbers, and I think this guy is going to be a very nice fantasy asset for this season moving forward. So as a rookie, fantastic value. Current ADP for him?
He is going at number 3 at the moment.
And that's fine with me. I've been lucky.
Someone has him at 1, but he's as low as 40.
I've been very lucky to get David Montgomery a little bit lower, but I did start picking him up early in the season. We did a lot of Dynasty drafts early, so that wasn't again particularly difficult to talk about. Do you have any questions?
What I would say is I think I don't agree that I don't agree he'll be a 3 down back straight away.
You don't think so? He has very good hands.
I know, but they've got a third down back who's excellent. He's probably one of the best in the league.
It's
Terry Cohen.
but it's a telegraph. See, the problem is, this is what the Bears have already said. Okay, this is what they've said. So you have to listen to this. Very important. Every time Cohen's on the field, the opponents know we're going to be throwing the ball, and that has been proved most of the time.
He's still doing it.
They can do 2 running backs in the field, and now have the choice of both.
Well, Montgomery two running back
takes
sets.
away. Immediately, we're keeping him on the field. That also keeps the defenders from changing, because that's what you have to do when you're putting a 3 down back in. You have to change, which gives the defense time to rest. You can't do that when you've got Montgomery, and that's what the Bears need, is to up tempo. Watch what happens. He's special. David Montgomery's built for the long haul, 4 quarters, and that's what's going to make him good. Doesn't mean that Tarek Cohen isn't good. Far from it, and he will be used. It's just Montgomery's different.
The other point I want to make is he's got to do what Rashad Penny couldn't do and beat out Mike Davis for the main role.
I think he will. Yeah, Freddie. Think. Yes, he will.
Okay.
I'm very confident.
I'm not as convinced as you. I think he will, but
I'm more convinced.
Mike Davis is a very underrated player.
Yes, he's proved. I mean, I'm not knocking Mike Davis. I've even traded for Mike in one league before we knew where David Montgomery was going to go. But I'm quite happy to have the pair, because then I'm kind of lucky.
Well, one of them's going to be the main guy.
But I do believe in David Montgomery. I wouldn't recommend him this high if I wasn't convinced. And when I'm convinced, I'm generally unshakable on that until I'm proven wrong.
You should be as well.
And I'm pretty strong on my opinions, but I'm
here to try and destroy them and your hopes and dreams.
Well, I like that, but I think you'll find it will be proved very, very accurate. I will talk about old Montgomery in a bit more detail and give you a bit more what I believe he can achieve for this year later. We'll see if he's on the bold prediction list. Let's find out later on. Anyway, third guy who has been the guy that I've drafted everywhere for every Dynasty league whenever I can. I don't think I've only missed out on him in one league, I think, all year long. That's Darrell Henderson. Hasn't he made an amazing climb up the ADP charts in real life? What a climb that's been. This guy already would return me value if I wanted to trade on him. But I'm not going to, because I believe this is winning your league capabilities, Darrell Henderson. He was my number 8 before the season started, as Al will testify.
Yeah.
He was my dark horse running back, depending where he landed. He's landed in the ideal spot. If you haven't seen our video on why I believe Todd Gurley has serious issues for this year, watch the video on Todd Gurley.
He's still number 10 overall, and that has climbed from about 15.
Yeah, and I believe when it's
mainly down to you.
I think when it's all said and done, you'll look back on this and realise what a calibre player this guy really is. And many people will argue, rightly, I understand the argument. They'll say, well, Gurley is going to play. He's going to play. What are you talking about? It's great value in the second round. Let me tell you something. The guy has arthritis in his knee. Now, my best quote, and this came out very recently, and I love this from ESPN, and I got a little taste of this was coming. It was great, actually. Was my friend Terrell Davis. I like to use my friend because, it actually got a little uptick that they liked my article on him, which was really nice. Said about Gurley, I had arthritis in my knee, and my playing career ended the year after. I ran for 700 yards and knew I was done. And I think, he said, Gurley's also done. If TD is telling you this, let me tell you something. This is serious stuff. This is now beginning to turn the corner. It will only be a matter of time before people begin to realise that the guy can't. He will know it. He may not have it in his mind. They've paid him a fortune. They've got to see this through, the Rams. They paid him a contract before they needed to. Thank God for the player they did. So I'm pleased for Gurley because he deserves that contract, irrespective of what happens. He will probably give it his best crack and give it everything he's got. But don't be surprised when Gurley busts massively. You're paying a second round premium for him now. That's mental. If you're paying a 5th or a 6th round, that's fine. You've already got a lot of players that you can anchor your team down with. Maybe he's your 3rd back. Maybe he's your 4th. I have no problem with that. But your 2nd back off the board, hoping he's going to come back with this. This is potentially bone on bone in more than one chamber of the knee. No thanks. I've seen enough of it in my years of drafting to know when it's time to quit. We can all love players. I love Gurley. I wish him the very, very best. But the truth is, like TD the year after the injury, I knew in my heart I wanted the player to do well. But like he said, he knew it was over. He tried his best. He got 700 yards. He got about 4 touchdowns. He just couldn't do it. The knee was swelling all the time. And it just, you can't keep injecting the knee. He's telling you that. He's been there. He's been through it. There's no treatment that's going to cure this problem for him. And you can hear all these stories about, well, many running backs have arthritis in the knee. Yeah, and how long do they play in the NFL? Not long, actually, once it's known. So mark my words, Darrell Henderson's value will only keep climbing, and it's already reaching astronomical levels where in large leagues, you're paying a round 4 premium, and in small leagues it's round 6. And that's a rookie competing with the likes of Montgomery and Josh Jacobs.
I mean, the clues are there. I wouldn't write Gurley off completely, but he could have a 700-yard, 4-touchdown season. I mean, it is entirely possible.
Very likely, but that's not round 2 relevant. Yeah, that's the issue. So if you're saying, is that success, it's an immediate bust, because
not where he's going, it's not a success.
Always say you need 180 fantasy points in round 2 in standard scoring. It's different. PPR, you need more. You just have to judge it. If he only produces 100, 110, you've missed out 70. That's almost losing a player you've picked on top of this. That's how big a bust it is. Whereas if Darrell Henderson returns me in a Dynasty draft 140, 160 fantasy year 1, and then looks like the lead back year 2, it's a massive success.
And when you look at the clues, the Rams traded up to draft this guy in round 3. I mean, that tells you something.
Oh, and the other thing about Henderson that's the absolute clear thing is, as the top gear, can break plays from anywhere. So he has the explosive gear, and the Rams know how to get space. So I could see opportunities for him year 1, and I could see game script where it all falls into place for him. And it might take a few weeks for that to shake out as the season starts. But let's see how good Henderson can be.
Consensus is 10. You've got him at 4.
4. I've left a player out I haven't mentioned. I'll come to him now, which is Josh Jacobs, if that's okay. Did you have any final questions on our friend Henderson?
I've never seen any shares of him because you.
I know. I kept taking him.
And at the time, two Todd Gurley.
The lowest I took Henderson was 7, which seemed very high at the time, but now that's proving to be very accurate. I mean, Al says it's going at 10, but not in any league I'm in.
Someone's going at 31.
Yeah, it's mental. That'll only happen in unpaid leagues.
I mean, I don't know what they're looking at.
Well, I put Josh Jacobs on the list. I'm not a fan, actually, of Josh Jacobs. I've already mentioned why, to be honest with you, but this is stock value. You trade
It's opportunity.
It's opportunity, and you trade on it. I mean, you'd be mental if you've got a high pick, you don't take him, unless you want to kill Harry. That's fine. If you've got another pick, or you need a running back, then obviously he's probably your first guy off the ball. I get that. Understand the reasons why. You just have to be clever and use this to your advantage. And in Dynasty, it means being a bit ballsy. It's something Al does very, very well in Dynasty. It's something I've been learning to do a little bit over the last few years, which is, and I'm quite good at this, is knowing when to trade out of trouble, which is a skill now. So I take Josh Jacobs and I would dangle that carrot all day long
for 2 first-round picks.
For first-round picks going forward, and why not? You're looking ahead to the 2020 class or beyond. That's how you build dynasty teams. You take what's there and then you build on it. You might get a few games out of him and then can trade on it as well. So you just judge it. And whichever happens, somebody's going to be a running back needy team, and Josh Jacobs will fill a void for you. And particularly those early few weeks when he's got fresh legs, he could be very good.
He's got very fresh legs. And he's on the standout at the moment. He's not signed his deal, and they're not even close apparently because of the bonus is way off.
I think it'll all be sorted, to be honest with you.
Well, they reckon he won't be ready for the start of camp.
Well, I'll make a prediction.
As a rookie,
I'll make a
team.
I'll make a prediction now that rookie contracts are much easier to resolve than veteran contracts. He'll be on that field and playing without a doubt.
Because the terminology they use isn't good though.
No,
not close. That isn't good, is it? In negotiation,
there's only so far the team can go on a rookie contract. So ultimately, the player will be, I'm afraid, handcuffed one way or the other. Whether he likes it or
it's more
not.
the bonus rather than.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they'll flesh that out. It's only a matter of time. I'm quietly confident he'll get on the field, but he's not my favourite player.
Gordon's old school.
I know.
That's a problem.
I know it is, but that's why I've never liked him. I'm only using him for tradability. He's not my favourite player because I believe he wears down. And again, you can look at that player video and have a look at why I believe he wears down and what the reasons are.
Well, I think you said before. I mean, he's not even played. I mean, college is 10-game seasons, maybe a few playoff games.
10-game season. He didn't play 10 full games. He was a relief back, and there were some great backs ahead of him, so you can't use that against him. It's not his fault he's playing with some elite company. When he got on, he played really well.
So can he play 16 games as a 3-down back in the NFL?
It's a different
game.
We
just don't know, do we?
It's totally like if you said to me, can David Montgomery? Of course he can, because that's what he's proved, that he can play 10 games, 4 quarters. He can do it all. Where this guy can't. Henderson, 4 quarters, can do it all. Ran for over 2,000 yards. You don't find many backs like that in the NFL that come in and then have a shot to do something special. So this guy's got a lot to prove to me. Now, if he does it this year, stays healthy, generally doesn't hit the rookie wall, then, sorry, I'll take everything back next year.
But if you're a 1-1, you're trading back, aren't you?
I'm trading back, and I have done many times for picks.
You have,
yeah, for picks. So there we are. That's Josh Jacobs. We've talked about Darrell Henderson. I'm going to my fifth guy who's on my list. It's Paris Campbell. I'm a big fan of Paris Campbell, actually. He was my dark horse wide receiver. Again, Al will back this up before the season, before the landing spot, basically. He was my the guy that I quite liked to see where he landed. The wide receivers really generally on the main all fell. The good ones all fell into the wrong locations, but a couple. Well, we've already highlighted Harry, and we're going to highlight Paris Campbell fell in the perfect location. I mean, playing for Indianapolis, Andrew Luck still in the prime of his career.
Yeah.
Have a piece of that all day long. Yeah, I'm not expecting Paris Campbell to light it up year one. This is a dynasty pick. I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking ahead to the fact that T.Y. Hilton is getting that little bit older. He's 29. He's coming towards the end of his career. Not yet. He's still got, there's still some ability there. But it is arguable. I mean, if you think about drafting spots, something I was looking at quite carefully the other day, actually. If you look at, I'll have to get the big book out, actually. There's 3 wide receivers around T.Y. Hilton's position. They're all about produce the same numbers, and I'll just have to get the name. Oh, it's T.Y. Hilton and Keenan Allen all produced very similar numbers actually last year, and that's about 160 fantasy points in standard. And I think there's room for a Paris Campbell to come into that offense and get you something. I'm not expecting lots.
Not year one. Rookie
I am expecting
really
the odd game where he flashes. But what I think we'll see is some chemistry building, and I think as we then go into year 2, we can get a bit more optimistic about him. But year 1, great player to own. Probably not someone you can start with any confidence. May have the odd big game, but certainly one you're going to be happy you've got on your team.
Yeah, I mean, he's a wide receiver with track speed.
Yeah.
So, he ran a 4.31 or 4.32.
Got to take the top of the defence off.
Yeah, you've got an elite quarterback thrown to him.
Can play the slot, which is really nice. Runs all the short and intermediate routes really neatly. I really like his footwork. They've commented on his work ethic. Andrew Luck likes the fact that he works so hard and one of the first in, last out. Always a good sign with a rookie. Got his head in the right place as well.
Yeah, he's turned Andrew Luck's head already then.
Good signs. And that's all you need, because you got to look ahead, and in Dynasty, T.Y. Hilton's been an excellent, a great fantasy asset. No denying it. A player I've really loved watching. But you got to think ahead now. So this is the guy that has that chance to mature. Got a couple of years to work with T.Y. Hilton. That'll help him, and form that bond with Luck. And I could see them going on to good things.
I think he's 6 on your list, going
6
7 overall.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine with me. Happy with that.
Number 7.
Well, it's your favourite, one of your favourite guys for this season, and I have warmed a lot to him actually, and it's difficult not to like him, and that's DK Metcalf. I've had to warm to him because, as begrudgingly, I felt he was a bit of a specimen, if I'm honest. And one of the problems,
he is a specimen, that's for sure.
But sometimes you see this in real life. When I played, you had a couple of guys who tops off, look the part, can't play, but this guy's got everything. He can lift everything, run everywhere. He's worked his tail off, apparently, behind the scenes at Seattle. He's forming a great chemistry with Russell Wilson. A lot of people like him. The coach is a big fan. These are all things that are trending up. So you can't dismiss those things.
What about his route running? That's a big thing that's always thrown at him. Separation.
Yeah, well, they'll say this about N'Keal Harry, and they have done. I mean, you just have to remember this is a specimen of a guy. These guys are special. They'll learn the nuances of what gets you separation in the NFL against corners, and it's all about what I call the acting skill. It's all about
with him and Harry. It's going to be physicality in a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have a player like DK Metcalf who can muscle out the opponent and isn't afraid to go over the top and get the ball. I also think he's a bloody handful. Actually, I think one of the things I like about him is, firstly, corners and safeties don't like getting hit. He's going to hurt you a lot. That's what
I used to like about Des Bryant. Des Bryant, when he could catch the ball.
You don't want to. It's difficult to bring down.
He was so physical. People couldn't. He was like men against boys.
It's very difficult to bring him down, and I have to say, I think he's going to have a special year. And there's a role there for him year 1, like Paris Campbell. There's a role right there in that offense.
It won't be a massive role year 1 though, will it?
No, but it's a great player to own on a dynasty team, because you think to yourself, look what could be. And Russell Wilson still has plenty of time, and I mean, there's a lot to like.
I mean, the negatives are it's a run-first offence. That's a bit of a negative.
Well, it is, but you still got to be able to pass the ball. I mean, Russell Wilson, there are times when the running game, you can't rely on it. And
you'll get more big plays rather.
I think there'll be big plays in there for him. And I think he could be a bit of a career highlight, one of these highlight people that shows some flashes of stuff, a bit like Paris Campbell year 1, and you're looking forward to year 2 and 3. And I think he's going to be a very interesting player. And if he lives up to anywhere near what he's capable of, Yeah, he could be special. There's no doubt about
Okay.
that. And I've got to consider him as well, that somebody on the edge of a bold prediction. I've got to start thinking about him because he's proving it already.
I don't know if you can put rookie wide receivers in bold prediction. Well, you can do what you
like.
like.
You can always put one in if you know what you want to do, and certainly there is one in there. Obviously, we mentioned him. Anyway, moving on. This is a guy I love. I love the situation. I love everything about him. He's totally under the radar, and I've loved grabbing shares of him everywhere. Devin Singletary of Buffalo Bills. People will doubt this player, already do, still do. He's the absolutely ridiculously low potential for a running back that could take the starting job. He's got to beat out the effervescent Frank Gore, who I love. No doubt about it. Frank Gore, if you watch this video, just know how much we admire you on this podcast. Trust me. And then you've got to fight off Slim Shady, as I call him, Mr. McCoy. He's not anywhere near what he used to be.
Yeldon.
Yeah, well, forget. Don't give me that TJ. It's like Alfred Blue coming back to haunt me. Don't.
Yeah, but he's a change of pace.
But Devin Singletary has got everything I'm looking for from a running back, and he is in the absolute ideal spot there. Now, we could say it's going to take a few weeks for this to air itself out, and I'm okay with that. Maybe it takes 4 to 6 weeks as the season starts.
You're talking Dynasty anyway,
I'm talking Dynasty. I believe he'll come on, and then by the end of the year, that's the only player we'll be talking about in the backfield, because Gore is, no matter what Gore says, it is near the end of the road. I mean, you can't go on and on and on. Although he's tried his best, he's amazing.
Still getting jobs, isn't
Still gets a job.
Good pro, isn't he? That's one.
Well, I see McCoy going and Frank Gore still being there. That's how much I see. I think that's what they'll do. They'll release McCoy if they've got sense, get that cap space, put Devin Singletary as the lead guy with a change of pace of Frank Gore. It makes perfect sense. And as the weather gets colder, that's when Devin Singletary becomes very special. People will watch his jump cut ability. The best jump cut I have ever seen, ever, period.
That is his one trick, isn't it?
It's like this computer game. When you've got the joystick and you're
playing Madden.
You're just moving a player and he's ducking and juking all over the field. You look like a genius, except you remember it's only a game. This is a guy that does it in real life, and it's special. When you watch him, sometimes you just can't believe he slipped out of a tackle. He's very special. So add the cold weather in Buffalo, and suddenly it all starts to make sense to me. I see a really big things for this guy going forward. I'm a big fan, and he's called the Motor. Devin Singletary, the Motor, because this guy plays all 4 quarters. He put a lot of yards up in college, so that people could say, "Oh, that's a bit of a red flag. He's got a bit of wear on the tread." No, this guy has played tough in his college career. He knows how to get yards.
Not as much tread as Frank Gore and the
certainly not as much tread as them guys. So he's coming in. He's going to be an exciting player to watch. He's going to be fun to watch. I think the only thing I would say about him is you have to judge in Dynasty. Hopefully he comes on and does what I think year 1. And then you think about year 2 and 3 and where you want to cash in on a player like this, because the jump cut ability and things that he does that makes him special is also the point that could be the quickest way to ruin. So remember that. Players that jump cut have to know, you have to judge it. But he has no injury history. He's completely squeaky clean. And as far as we know, I think he's special for this year. So he's going very underrated. What's his current ADP? It was in the 20s.
17.
Still
so he's as high as 6 and as low as 35.
And that about sums it up. So I've been cashing him where I can. I like him. I don't want him as my only running back in the first round, but I'm happy to get shares of him in the first round of a Dynasty draft. I don't mind taking him a bit early. I don't want to miss out on him. I like him. If I can get 2 running backs, he would be one.
You have got a lot of shares of him.
I do like him. And we're going to name another guy I don't have many shares of, but really like, which is Damien Harris for New England. I think this could be the guy that, when it's all said and done, it could be really horrendous, because he's a player I probably should have had a few more shares of. I've got none in Dynasty, which is really ridiculous. It hasn't fallen that way, because I've often tried to trade up and get high up the board. But Damien Harris has an opportunity to take this job, because Sony Michel may not come back fully healed from the off-season stuff that's gone on. And I think Damien Harris has a chance to that starting job. So again, as the season unfolds, it could be 4 or 5 weeks into the year, we suddenly see a change in as New England tend to do, and Damien Harris could come out of nowhere and surprise us all.
Well, you never know in New England. That's the point, isn't it? Really, and they drafted him pretty high. So
and Damien Harris on the ADPs.
He is 16.
So that's good. You're not paying a first round premium, and I wouldn't pay a first round premium for him, but get a second round premium on him, and you're laughing. I think he's definitely worth a shot. We've mentioned him in videos, but he's a very nice shot in Dynasty to see what happens. And again, I would probably say, if I'm honest, hand on heart, if it pans out, decide when to cash in, but cash in quickly, because New England have a tendency to change backs fast. So remember that.
I was quite surprised to see him draft another running back with White, with Burkhead.
Because there are issues in two ways. The first one is that Sonny Michel, there's a little bit more worry about that knee. A big worry, actually, that he also may have arthritis in his knee. And the second big thing is that he was a terrible pass catcher, and their pass catching backs they normally relied on have got injuries too, so they needed a guy.
Well, James White's a pretty good, and Burkhead, they both catch it pretty well.
They can, but there's a time period coming now where you could see the changing of some of that old guard.
Well, New England never do anything without a plan, so it's interesting to see, what the plan with him will be. That's what
I think they'll utilise him from the get-go. He will surprise people. He could be a very interesting PPR darling. One of those technical 3-down backs who delivers more than you think. I think I'd pick him up in a couple of redraft PPR or best ball leagues just on the off chance he turns into something late. Obviously, pay a late premium as late as you can.
Yeah,
but I'm definitely quite happy to do that in a best ball or a PPR league late. I'd definitely take a couple of shots just in case he ends up taking the James White role and gets 7-8 catches a week. That's very handy. So yeah, one to think about. Certainly one to store.
And finally.
We've got a couple more actually.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
We've got Deebo Samuel. It's not everybody's cup of tea, this guy, but I think in Dynasty, I think Deebo Samuel, the wide receiver for San Francisco, has a real opportunity to shake himself out of the pack and be their number one in a couple of years. He's sneaky good, actually, player. Good track speed, good player, good route run. A lot of things that are not being talked about with this guy yet. I just think there isn't a lot there in San Francisco. They are looking for pieces to build off. I think he might be special.
I think he'd be.
Yeah, he could be very good for this year, Pettis, because he's got more experience than Deebo. But I think we might see Deebo being that kind of player that you kind of see in year 2 make a big jump, and maybe by year 3 really stand out as the wide receiver that they're looking to build around. This is a bit more risky. So again, he's not someone you want to pay a high premium for. You don't reach for him. But I do like him when he's there. I do grab a share or two when I have been able to. And I don't mind him because we're now talking a bit deeper down. Where's Deebo's current value?
He's 12 overall.
So he is at the end of most leagues or the beginning of the second round for most. And that's perfectly fine value there. Depending on your team's needs, I'm happy to take a shot at Deebo Samuel. This guy's been the quarterback that everybody's been talking about. This is my 10th plan. We'll come on to the bonus one, the one not really interested about. But Kyler Murray, I think he's the pick of the crop for these quarterbacks for right now. I think he's special. I like him. I think he's going to offer some value year 1. He's probably not a quarterback that you go after in standard, except as a second, just in case something happens to your first. And depending how the season goes,
yeah, he's a long term.
Could have some value in redraft because people forgot this last year. We mentioned brilliantly, I felt last year. We talked about a year ahead of the curve, Josh Allen in Buffalo, and his footwork being exceptional. Well, this is Josh Allen's footwork times 10 because he's got escapability to go with that and can throw on the run. He's the Doug Flutie of this class, possibly of any class for 10 years.
That's one for the oldies.
He's one for the oldies. And Doug Flutie was very, very, very special in that he was underrated, too small, didn't have the right arm, couldn't run, rubbish. This guy's got everything you're looking for. His release of the ball, the high point of the ball, makes him taller than his 5'10", makes him a 6'4", 6'5" quarterback. And I love his sidearm motion as well, that he can flick out when he wants to running backs and things like that. That makes it an easy catch for the running backs. It's a great skill a quarterback has, and he's the only quarterback I've seen do what I like, which is I call it the shotgun snap, the ability to slide the ball as you're going to hand it off between this outstretching hand back into the hand that you've got tucked into your body. Just push it in like a shotgun, and then it looks like to the defensive players that the ball's gone to the running back. It's so hard to see that. It's speed, and he does that really well. It's a beautiful skill, and that gives him that running lane that he will milk for yards. So definitely a player I would love to have as a second, even in redraft, because I just think it's interesting. You might reach a point where
he's a dual threat, isn't he? So it's good for
you could reach a point in the season. It could be critical right near the end of the season where you suddenly had a good couple of games, and you think, I'm going to take that chance. Now's the chance to take that trajectory up. So I like Kyler Murray now and for the future. Very easy one to pick. Current ADP for Kyler, he's been all over the place in our draft,
at the moment,
and that's a great part to get.
3 and 20.
Fabulous. I mean, if you can get him at 11 because you're the back end of a draft, it's a pretty good pick actually. It's fairly safe, and it'll do you no harm until you be able to cash in.
This is a guy that will play for years.
He's going to play. Finally, the player that I haven't talked about actually is Miles Sanders. I never liked him actually all year long. Al will have to testify to this. He's the player I've said I'm not interested in. He's had a lot of already issues actually. I'm really pleased about this part. Not for him, because he could still pan out to be something. But I really don't like Philadelphia's situation. If you look at it logically, you're paying a very, very high premium for Miles Sanders' services straight away. I think he's averaged 103.
He's 104 now, but he was 3.
So it hasn't dropped much. But the problem with him is the fact that people will say, well, the opportunity's there. Well, absolutely. But this is like New England. I'm not paying a high premium when I'm taking Damien Harris. I'm taking a second-round pick. This guy, I'm having to take him in the first round with my high pick. And that's my whole draft sitting there. Could be what I need for that season is right in his hands. And
I missed all the pre-season.
Don't think he's going to deliver it. I haven't thought this all the way along. And I worry that when it's all said and done, old Jordan Howard over there ends up being the lead back for the season, giving you fairly good numbers actually.
Well, the thing with them, they do mix it up. There's like, you don't know which one it's going to be from week to week. There's no one main guy either.
No, I think there's a real issue now because of the missed time. And I'm not saying he can't get the time back because there's still time for him. He could still pan out to be the lead back. It's possible. But I think the way it's looking now, this is looking like a committee. I think they're already saying that. And I worry about what that kind of committee looks like because this is Philadelphia. And frankly, it's like trying to pick a banana out of an orange tree. I'm not even going to attempt to try. I'm not picking these kind of players. And that's why he's not even on my list. And if I'm honest, he's my do not draft player, full stop.
But you might use him as trade bait.
Trade bait if I could, but I'd rather, hopefully, and as a bit prove the case, there's always somebody there that I like about him. There was one chance this year I'd end up with having to do exactly that, but luckily Montgomery fell to me. So I didn't have to get Saunders and then try and trade on him quite quickly. So there we are. That's the reason he's on the list. Did you think that's fair, or did you have a question on that?
No, I mean, I think he's going 4 overall, so you'd have to say why you don't want him on your list. So I think you covered it beautifully. So
thank you.
There you go. Who's in your top 10? Do you
agree? Disagree?
Tell us. Has Sean gone mad?
Do you think it's crazy, or do you agree with us? I mean, that's the key here. I mean, again, I think one of the strengths of the podcast is we are trying to be ahead of that curve, and that is an incredibly difficult thing to do. But I think what you've noticed, me and Al bring 2 different things to this. The first thing is I'm going to bring an intuition to it, which at first people are going to say is mad, then they're going to go, that's right. And that's my skill. That's the ability to go bold and to say that's what will happen. And if you have any doubt on that, look back at the bold predictions for last year or the deep rookie flyer list and see what nuggets Al had found throughout those lists and see where we are as a duo, because without a shadow of a doubt, that's our strength. So we'd love your comments. We'd like your feedback. Obviously, please subscribe if you haven't. But if we've missed anybody off, we should be in that list. I'd love to know, because we've still got chances ahead with redrafts coming up. We might find some gold of our own.
And, if you're still watching, why not, give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. We really appreciate it. It'd mean a lot to us. And thanks very much for watching.
See you in the next one.